Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. My name is Flex Mike with the Flex Network. I am running solo tonight. We are getting into our recap of the NFL week. We're gonna look at the surprises of the week this past week. We're gonna look ahead to week 6. What shocked us? What do we expect? What teams underperformed? What teams overperformed? So we are going to get into the thick of it here just in a second. So we are getting in on the Flex Network. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at mbwalters11 on Twitter. I will be talking all things NFL, might have a little wrestling on there from time to time, some fantasy football, all that type of stuff. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the NFL action from this past week. And I guess I'll get this out of the way with, because I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'll get this out of the way with. You have the Seahawks defeating the Rams 30-29 on Thursday Night Football off of a missed field goal, which was as a Seattle fan, it kind of put me in a weird situation where I was unhappy that we were even in the situation where they could have a missed field goal, and so that whole situation was wild. The way that we allowed the Rams to have the ball back, there are some maybe some play calling some play calling towards the end of that game that I didn't necessarily agree with, that put us in that situation. So it was very interesting, but needless to say, Chris Carson goes over 100 yards. Seahawks get the win off of a missed field goal. Russell Wilson throws for 4 touchdowns again and is just continuing his candidacy for the MVP this season. He's just playing at a super high level right now. So the whole thing really interesting, and just loving it. It's been good for Seattle fans. So we've been watching that, obviously. Couple other games here. Let's see. Cardinals beat the Bengals 26-23. Bengals just aren't really having that great of a season. Andy Dalton's numbers actually weren't too bad. 27 for 38, 262 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray did some stuff on the ground, though. He had 10 carries for 93 yards and a touchdown. So Cardinals squeaked that out by 3. The Bills beat the Titans 14-7. I believe that was one of my picks this week, and it was interesting. So we just, we were in that conversation about how good the Bills defense was. Bills defense is great. They pull out 14-7. Bills move to 4-1. I don't know how many people really thought that they were going to see the Bills at 4-1, and just their one loss is to the New England Patriots, who are of course undefeated. And so that whole situation is just it's interesting, because although they lost to the Patriots, they didn't give up a single touchdown to Tom Brady, which is impressive in its own right. So that kind of tells you how good that defense is. Moving on, we got the Bears. This was very surprising to me, losing to the Raiders 24-21. I understand that Chase Daniel was in and Trubisky was out. Chase Daniel ends up going for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. He played well, but the Raiders pull it out 24-21. Josh Jacobs was a story in this game, I believe. 26 carries for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if you're like me, you're a little bit upset. I had Josh Jacobs as a running back sitting on my bench in my fantasy teams, so that was a little frustrating for me. But like I said, Raiders pull that out, and then we move on to the Saints continue to stay hot. They pull out the win over the Buccaneers 31-24. That doesn't mean that that the Buccaneers still weren't taking care of business. They're pretty heavy on the stats, and so the surprising thing is the Buccaneers defense was actually able to slow Alvin Kamara down a little bit. He only had 16 carries for 62 yards, surprising, but that wasn't really the story. The story was the Saints and Teddy Bridgewater came out passing the ball a lot more, and Michael Thomas, leading receiver in that game, he had 11 catches for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, they pulled it out behind Michael Thomas's big game. Moving on, Vikings beat the Giants 28-10. The Giants just aren't in a good place right now. They are not performing at a super high level right now, and so none of that is all too shocking. We had, let's see here, Adam Thielen gets back on track, 7 catches for 130 and 2 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook just continuing his good season, 21 carries, 132 yards, no touchdowns though. Let's see here. Oh, the Eagles absolutely just jump all over the Jets, 31-6. Case in point, right now you have an inexperienced quarterback in Luke Falk, who is really a practice squad player, but he is just coming off of just not having a whole lot of reps. So I think the Jets are really just counting down the days until Sam Darnold comes back. Let's see here. Ravens beat the Steelers in overtime, 26-23. The big story of this game was Rudolph had a pretty nasty hit from, I believe it was a safety, Earl Thomas, nasty concussion. Was pretty much unconscious before he even hit the ground. It was kind of gross. Lamar Jackson didn't really have that good of a game from a stats perspective. 19 for 28 passing with 161 yards and a touchdown. Followed up with 70 yards on the ground on 14 carries. Let's see, moving on, we have Patriots over the Redskins 33-7. The Redskins are in the same position that the Giants are in, just really not playing well. There seems to be something going on with their quarterback situation. They just really don't want to start the new guy Haskins. I'm not sure what's going on there. So that whole situation is pretty interesting. And of course you hear after the game that the Redskins fired Jay Gruden. I believe he got fired early Monday morning. And then the Jaguars were in a really tough game with the Panthers. The Panthers pulled it out 34-27. McCaffrey was just out of his mind. 19 carries, 176 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Gardner Minshew just put together another solid performance, 26 for 44 passing, 374 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you're telling me, I believe he was a 5th, 6th round pick, a guy like that comes in and just performs at the level that he's on right now, they are just rocking and rolling, and you got to be happy. If you would have told them that Nick Foles was going to go out and then they would be 2-3 right now, they would probably sign up for that. The big receiving story from that game, DJ Chark, 8 catches, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns. He seems to be Gardner Minshew's favorite target right now. Moving on here, Texans absolutely have a just monster offensive explosion for this game. Texans 53, Falcons 32. The Falcons are sitting at 1-4 right now. That's probably a shock to a lot of people. One thing that was shocking for some people is, Deshaun Watson comes in, he throws for a career high 5 touchdowns and 426 yards. And that's his personal best for touchdowns. He throws 3 to Will Fuller, who is kind of on the he's on the injury report quite often. So a lot of people are trying to figure out if he's going to stay healthy. And so when he's in, he's good. So this game, Will Fuller had 14 catches for 217 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just a monster game for him. And, like I said, Deshaun Watson balled out. He played really well. Broncos defeat the Chargers 20-13. Broncos get the first win of the season. So that's surprising. The Chargers are a team that that just don't seem to be playing very well right now. They're 2-3, and they're really trying to figure some things out right now. Philip Lindsay in this game goes 15 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown. Anyone watching right now, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them on there. I'll answer any questions you have. Let's see. Big game of the week, in my opinion, was Green Bay traveling to Arlington to take on the Cowboys. This game got out of hand early. Big time Aaron Jones game. Aaron Jones, 19 carries, 107 yards, 4 touchdowns. Dak Prescott struggles in this one. He goes 27 for 44, 463 yards, 2 touchdowns. You hear that and you might not think that he was struggling all that much. But when you add on Dak, I believe Dak threw 3 interceptions and then had a couple of interceptions actually called back on penalty. So he kind of got away a little bit. But Amari Cooper, I mean, that guy, I don't know what more you can say about him. He's incredible. 11 catches, 226 yards, and a touchdown. And, I believe at one point it was 31-3. And the Cowboys slowly started climbing their way back. They get within 10. They know that they're going to have to kick a field goal at one point. So they get down there, they get close. They go for the field goal. They kick the field goal. They make the field goal, but then the refs call a false start on one of the linemen, so they have to re-kick the field goal, essentially icing their own kicker. Maher misses it wide right, and now they're down by 10, and they're giving the Packers the ball back. That was pretty much game at that point. So a lot of Cowboys really upset. You're coming off some losses, back-to-back losses. You lost to the Saints and now you lose to the Packers. Had a few easy games to start the season. So now they're getting tested a little bit. Those are 2 of the tougher teams that they play in the first 8 weeks. But this next week they have the Jets. Not sure if Sam Darnold's going to play yet, but if he does, it might be competitive. Who knows how healthy he really is, but I expect the Cowboys to get back on track with that one. Next game, Colts 19, Chiefs 13. The Colts, just plain and simple, just got after Pat Mahomes in this game. Pat Mahomes, 22 for 39, 321 yards and a touchdown. Marlon Mack, 29 carries for 132 yards. The Chiefs just really couldn't get anything going like the way that they're used to. It looks like they're really missing Tyreek Hill right now. So he's questionable for this week. He could potentially play coming off of that collarbone. I believe it was a clavicle injury. Any of that type of stuff, you got to be careful with contact coming back a little too early. Next game, I've been on the side of things with the 49ers. I haven't really felt like they've played anyone. It's kind of the same thing with the Cowboys. I didn't feel like the Cowboys played anyone, and I'm in the same boat with the 49ers. Who have the 49ers played, And so the Browns at this point were by far the best team that they've played. And on Monday Night Football, they just straight up went out there. They handled the Browns. They took care of the Browns. The pass rush was real for the 49ers. They were all over the Browns. Baker Mayfield had no idea what he was doing, where to go. The first play of the game was a long touchdown by San Francisco's running back, and they just took care of business. They just knocked him out essentially. And, final score 31-3. The Browns were never in the game. I turned the game on late and I got to it. And I think by the time I got to it, it was 14-0 already. So they were all over the Browns. Okay. So moving on, we got the Giants and the Patriots on Thursday Night Football this week. Giants are struggling, just plain and simple. They're not very good. They're not being competitive in their division. Their star running back is hurt. He's scheduled to come back pretty soon. He is doubtful for this game, I believe, but whether or not he was in doesn't really matter. I think the Patriots cruise in this one. They're 17-point favorites. I think that's right at about the mark right there. I think the Patriots are going to get up and just coast for the rest of the game. This game isn't going to be competitive. Um, I expect New England's defense to kind of jump all over Daniel Jones this week, and maybe he throws a few interceptions, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But New England's DB seem to be playing at a really high level right now. They're all over pretty much every team they're playing. So Patriots cruising this one. Next game, just going down the list here, we got the Seahawks at the Browns. Right now the line is Seattle favored by 1.5, and the over under 46.5. A little bit homer right here for me, obviously, but I think the Seahawks win this game. The Browns don't seem to have it all together right now. The real story is going to be Nick Chubb, Cleveland's running back. He's playing at a pretty high level. He's closing in on 500 yards already for the season, 4 touchdowns, all that good stuff. So, let's see there. So Seattle's favored by 1.5. I'd probably go Seattle by 10. And if not, it's going to be like every other Seattle game. It's going to be close, always close, super close for no reason. No matter how good the team is or how bad the team is, the game's going to be super close. Moving on, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Buccaneers division game. Carolina's favored by 2.5, over under 47.5. I would actually say the over under should be moved up higher than 47.5. Both of these teams can score. Both of these teams can pass the ball. You have Jameis Winston, who's already thrown for over 1,300 yards on the season. He's got 11 touchdowns. He's got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and just some really good receivers. Chris Godwin on the season already has 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. So in this situation, I just feel like this is going to be like whoever has the ball last is going to win the game. So they are going head to head. I would probably give the nod to Carolina. They seem to be playing pretty well. But if I am giving the nod, it's going to be like by a field goal or less. This game is going to be close. They're going to be going back and forth all day. And so that's pretty much what I'm expecting. Next game is Texans at the Chiefs. I do not expect the Texans to come out and throw for almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns again against the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are looking to get back on track after losing last week. I think the Chiefs will come out and just throw the ball, assuming that Pat Mahomes is healthy. If Pat Mahomes is healthy, he got hit a little bit last week. He kind of bummed his knee up a little bit and hurt one of his ankles. And so if he is healthy and can actually move around a little bit, I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. The over-under is 54 points, and 54 is pretty high, and it's probably right on the money is about the amount of points it's going to score. KC's favored by 4.5 right now. And I think that's right about it. Just like that last Panthers and Buccaneers game. It's, both these teams can score, and the Texans have quietly just been a lot better as an offensive line ever since they traded for, I believe his name's Laramie Tunsil, the tackle they got from the Dolphins. And so, Deshaun Watson's actually getting a little bit of protection. He doesn't typically get the protection. He's usually running for his life, usually fighting injuries and stuff like that. Right now, he seems to be playing pretty well. So I'll take the Chiefs in this one. They have him favored by 4.5. I'll say 7. Chiefs by 7. Next game, Redskins at 0-5 at Dolphins 0-4. I mean, somebody's got to win. These are two teams that just absolutely cannot get out of their own way. Redskins just look awful. The Dolphins look even worse. Over under 41. I do not see that many points getting scored. They are both just horrendous football teams right now. Washington's favored by 3.5. I guess whatever, I'll take Washington by 3 just because the Dolphins just look worse. Yeah, this is one of those games where if you just get a touchdown lead or a 2 touchdown lead, that you just start handing the ball off to running back to get out of town to try and get your first win. whatever. So yeah, I'll take the Redskins on that game just because I don't think they're as bad as the Dolphins, and they've actually been competitive with teams this season, unlike the Dolphins have. All right, next is Eagles at Vikings. Um, uh, Minnesota favored by 3. They're at home. They're 3-2. Dalvin Cook is having an incredible season so far. 92 carries, just short of 550 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. He's playing well. I think the Eagles are on their way to having kind of like a heavyweight matchup with the Cowboys. Eagles are 3-2. Carson Wentz is just short of 1,200 yards on the season, 10 touchdowns. I'm expecting the Eagles to come into Minnesota and actually win this game. I think the Eagles win by 4. It'll be a close game. Over under 44. I think I would actually move the over under up to 54. Yeah, I just think that the NFL is trying to build a little bit of a story here, so I expect the Eagles to come in and win, and then you kind of have a heavyweight matchup with the following week with the Cowboys. So we'll see how that rolls out, taking the Eagles in that one. Next is Saints at Jaguars. This is a tough game. Saints are 4-1, Jags are 2-3. Jacksonville's actually favored by a point because they're at home. Typically, you get a 3-point nod for being at home, but the Saints are a good team right now, even with their backup quarterback. My wife here says boo Eagles. She is not a fan of my take on the Eagles. It's okay though, because she's a Cowboys fan. It is what it is. Yeah, so real tough game for the Saints. Just simply because I kind of alluded to it earlier when I was recapping last week. Gardner Minshew's playing at a high level, just like it is what it is at this point. He's playing well. He is always giving his team a chance to win. Even last week when the Jags were playing the Panthers, I believe, he had the ball late at the end and he was moving down the field about to score on a game-winning drive, but there's a sack fumble situation. He fumbled the ball and the Panthers recovered it, and they ended up holding on for the win, it is what it is. He was close to pulling that one out. So Leonard Fournette seems to be coming around. He's at 512 yards and a touchdown. So like I said, Jacksonville favored by 1, over under 44 points. I'm taking the Saints in this one, even going against my boy Gardner Minshew. I just think that the Saints are a much better team from top to bottom right now. So they'll go in. I'll take the Saints. I'll take the Saints by 6 points. Next, Bengals at Ravens. Like I said earlier, Bengals are awful. They're bad. 0-5. Ravens are at least competitive in their division. They're 3-2. It looks like at this point, if Cleveland doesn't kind of wake up and decide what they're going to do, it really looks like it's the Ravens division to win. Baltimore's favored by 11. They're at home. Yeah, this is just a no-brainer. Over under 48. That's probably right on the money. I don't expect the Bengals to score a lot. Maybe score about 14, 17 points. The rest of those points going to the Ravens. Ravens want to get kind of back on track. They started the season really hot, and they've slowed down over the past couple of weeks. So get Lamar Jackson throwing the ball again. This next game I'm actually really intrigued by. It's the 49ers at the Rams. This is the first big time test for the 49ers. 49ers are 4-0. They're one of 2 undefeated teams left in the NFL. The other team is the New England Patriots. 49ers are looking like they have a really, really strong defense. I've kind of been hating on them mostly because they're in my division, and it is what it is. But the 49ers just really, really threw some exotic blitzes at Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns this last week, and they had no idea really how to handle it. Freddie Kitchens, the rookie head coach of the Cleveland Browns, he did not make any adjustments really to try and to try and stop any of those blitzes. And so Baker Mayfield was running for his life, throwing picks, fumbling the ball, getting sacked left and right. He just didn't look good. So this game will be really interesting. Rams, like the Cowboys, are coming off back-to-back losses. So I'm interested in seeing if the 49ers can keep their hot streak alive or if the Rams can get back on track. It's at Los Angeles, so Los Angeles is getting they're 3-point favorites in this game right now. I don't 3 points is pretty standard for a home field. If you're playing on your home field, you typically get 3 points. A Los Angeles home field is nothing to write home about. Los Angeles does not have this just like crazy noise or like tough conditions to play in or any of that type of stuff. So being at home really means nothing, especially with the 49ers who are in that state. So the travel really isn't that far. And so if I'm the 49ers, I'm going to LA and I'm treating it like a home game because, that home field is nothing. And so, the over under is 50.5. That is a lot of points. So I will take, for the sake of things, for the sake of the 49ers no longer being undefeated, I'll take the Rams in this one by, let's say by 10. I got the Rams by 10. Rams get back on track, get back to their winning ways, and we tighten up this division and see what's going on. Next game, we have the Falcons at 1-4 against the Cardinals 1-3. This is really going to be a game that kind of tells you where the Falcons are at, because in no way, shape, or form should the Cardinals ever be competitive with the Falcons in this game. But, you look at the record, the Falcons are 1-4. They're not playing that well. Matt Ryan's numbers are fine. He's just short of 1,700 yards with 11 touchdowns on the season. He's playing fine. For whatever reason, it must be the defense. Austin Hooper, the Falcons tight end, is having a good season. He's at just under 400 yards and 2 touchdowns as a tight end. So he's playing well. David Johnson trying to keep his season going pretty strong. He's trending in the right direction. He's only got 1 touchdown this season, but he's had some hot moments. And the Cardinals 1-3. When you're playing from behind, you typically don't get the ball a whole lot as a running back. He gets involved in the pass game a lot more than he does running the ball on the ground. So this one, I'm taking the Falcons over the Cardinals. The Falcons just have to get back on track. If the Falcons lose to the Cardinals here, the Falcons are going to be a lot worse than a lot of people predicted. So Atlanta's favored by 2.5. Over under is 51.5. That's a lot of points. So expect the Falcons to kind of have I'm expecting the Falcons, and also for the sake of my fantasy teams, I'm expecting the Falcons to kind of have a coming out party here a little bit. So I'll take the Falcons in this one by 7. Next is the Titans at 2-3 at the Broncos 1-4. I'm gonna take the Broncos in this one. I'd like to see Denver get another win on the season. Last week they had their first one. The line is Denver 2.5. They're at home, which pretty much tells you they think it's about even. Over under 39.5. If Flacco can just do what he did the last game, he played well the last game. He's just under 1,300 yards on the season, 6 touchdowns. He loves the deep ball, and Cortland Sutton, one of the receivers for the Broncos, is really benefiting from that. He's got 26 catches for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season, and he's staying somewhat healthy this year. So we'll see what he can do. The Titans, on the other hand, they have kind of been, back and forth every week. So we don't know how good they are or what Titans team you're going to get. One week you're getting a really good team. One week you're not getting a good team. So If there are Titans fans out there, they're looking to get some teams that look good, or they want to put something out on paper where they look good. Next game is Cowboys at Jets. I think this is a must-win for the Cowboys. I'd mentioned it before in previous podcasts. The Cowboys have a relatively easy first 8 games of the season, and the back half of their season is pretty tough. Cowboys are sitting at 3-2 right now. They're tied with the Eagles at the top of their division. They need to win this game to go to 4-2, so that they have that showdown with the Eagles in Week 7. And that's pretty much going to be for first place in the division at the time. So I think that the Cowboys are going to win this game, and I'm expecting them to win it kind of easy. So we just don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be back yet. For those of you who don't know, Sam Darnold has mono, and he's been out pretty much all season. And so we will see what happens with that team, but the Jets desperately need Sam Darnold back. They're a completely different team without him. I mean, like I said, you got Luke Falk, who really is a practice squad player, going in there playing quarterback and just really not playing well at all. Dak had a rough game last week. He threw for 3 picks, but he threw for 400 plus yards and a few touchdowns. So, they're counting on him to play well. He has to play well for the team to be successful. He's sitting at 1,600 yards and 11 touchdowns on the season. Zeke, you've kind of been a little. I don't know about other people, but I've been a little bit down on him this season because he has not really. He hasn't really impressed me. He has all the talent in the world, and he can be the best running back in the league whenever he has the opportunity to be out there. But you just want to see him go out there and really take over games. I understand the offense has switched a lot. They're doing a lot more deep passes and playing the passing game a lot more, and they're not leaning so much on the run. So that'll be interesting to see. And then you have Amari Cooper, who's just having an incredible season right now. He's at 500, a little over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. So he's playing out of his mind. So his success is dependent on how well Dak plays. If Dak can play well, then Amari Cooper is going to, he's the number 1 receiver. So he's obviously going to benefit from that. Cowboys winning this one. I'm going to take Cowboys by 14, actually. The line has Dallas by 7, and the over-under's 43. I think Dallas cruises in this one. They win by 14. Moving on, you have the Steelers at the Chargers. I just don't see any way the Steelers are winning this game. I actually don't even know if the Steelers, Mason Rudolph, their quarterback, I don't think that he is going to win. I don't think he's going to be healthy. He's coming off concussion. He's in concussion protocol right now. If you saw the game last week, he got knocked out pretty nasty. So we are just waiting to hear word if he's going to play or not. I don't see him playing, and it's just, I don't know. The dude was knocked out cold before he even hit the ground. It was a tough situation. And so, I don't see a situation where he would play or should be allowed to play. I think the Steelers know that they're not very good right now, and they should just continue and just move on. Let him sit a week so that he could, get his wits about him again and then come back. Chargers should roll in this one. They're at home. They're favored by 6.5 points, over under 41.5. The Chargers should use this game as a get right game. They need to get right. Phillip Rivers' numbers are fine. He's, just under 1,500 yards passing, 7 touchdowns on the season. The running back situation for the Chargers is an interesting one because you have Austin Eckler in there, and then you have Melvin Gordon coming back. He came back last week. Neither one of them really played all that well. But they've already, the head coach of the Chargers, Anthony Lynn, has already said that they are going to include Melvin Gordon in in the game a lot more this week. It's probably just a situation where he has to get back in, game playing shape. I mean, you can be in great shape and all that good stuff, but until you really start taking hits from people and getting back into the rhythm of the NFL season and all that good stuff, you're not really going to know what you have there. But Melvin Gordon will be included more. That just means he's going to be in the passing game more. He's going to be taking some carries away from Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler has 227 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. So you're looking, if you're an Austin Eckler owner, you're probably looking for that number to continue to rise. Keenan Allen, from a yards perspective, he's fine. He's doing well. It's 470 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. I take the Chargers in this one, and this is another game. I think the Chargers take it by 10. The line has the Chargers at winning by 6.5. I'll give them 10 just because I don't think the Steelers are very good, and the only reason that they have a win is because they got to play the Bengals, who are 0-5. So otherwise, they would probably still be winless. Moving on, our last game is the Monday Night Football game. Lions at Packers. Lions kind of, they started off a little bit weird. They had a tie with the Cardinals to start week 1, which is interesting. But this is at Lambeau. The Packers are hot right now. They're 4-1. They're coming off that good game stats wise that they had against Dallas. And so they're just looking to continue that hot streak. Aaron Rodgers is playing well, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers, so you would expect him to play well. 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. Aaron Jones, prior to last week's game, only had 4 touchdowns, and then he added 4 more, so he's up to 8 now. And Davante Adams, are we going to see Davante Adams back? He has a turf toe situation, but if he's in there, this game is completely different. The whole receiving situation is an interesting one without okay, we got a comment here. Sorry. Here we go. Blake Bortles facts, huh? Blake Bortles has more rushing yards than Melvin Gordon this year. Oh, okay. Well, I don't really know about that, but a diehard Jags fan, my buddy Will over here. But anyway, like I said, the Davante Adams situation is crazy, and they need him on the field. These receivers aren't getting open. One of the main receivers is Jimmy Graham when Davante Adams isn't on the field. That's a problem because Jimmy Graham really isn't or hasn't been that great of a receiver over the last 3 or 4 years. Dating back to his Seattle days, and he really hasn't been the same since he left New Orleans. So if Jimmy Graham's your leading receiver, you're not having your receivers aren't doing much. I mean, you got all these other receivers, Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, which is one of the most weirdest names in all of the NFL. But you want to see some other guys produce, and I think from a defensive perspective, it makes it a little bit easier to shut some of those guys down, knowing you don't have to deal with Davante Adams. So they need Davante Adams in there so that some of those other guys aren't getting the call of a number 1 DB, So they're looking for Davante Adams to come back. He's a huge part of that offense. They need him big time, and so and that's week 6 right now, and you have the Bills, the Bears, the Colts, and the Raiders all on byes this week. The Bears really look like they need the rest. Their defense was kind of struggling a little bit last week. They pulled out the win, they lost. Actually, my bad. Yeah, they lost last week to the Raiders, I believe. So you just really want to see. You want to see some of those teams, get that rest and come back. The Bills are playing, like I said, their defense playing at a really high level. And so they're having a good season. It's just really unfortunate that they play in a season with the Patriots, play in a division with the Patriots, because the Patriots pretty much have wrapped up that division for a long time. So, yeah, that's pretty much week 6. A couple of things here. We have, if you would like to follow us on social media, you can follow our Twitter page here at the Flex Network One on Twitter. We have a few of the guys from the Flex Network. Like I said, myself, I'm at MBWalters11 on Twitter. You can follow our guy, Alan Seslowski, at Alan Seslowski on Twitter. He'll have all your Survivor type stuff. He'll have your fantasy football stuff, and he's part of the Flex Network. Then you have my buddy Shane at Sealy_Shane, and he'll get all of the fantasy stuff for you. He's on the Flex Finder podcast. He's on your Start Sit show Sunday morning. So make sure you follow him. And then yeah, just follow us here. Like our page on Facebook. If you're seeing this on Facebook, we appreciate any likes or any comments or any of that type of stuff that you drop on there. We really enjoy doing these, and we have a YouTube page also. Search Flex Network on YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on there. We are streaming in multiple locations now. We're streaming to Facebook and to YouTube at the same time, thanks to our the system we use here has updated and given us that ability, so we really appreciate that. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them. NFL questions, who I think is going to win, what teams are going to be doing what, and any of that type of stuff. I think it'll be an interesting week in football, and like I said, you could subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on pretty much any podcasting platform that's out there. So if you're looking for a sports podcast to listen to, I will personally vouch for us, because I think that we're a pretty good podcast. We're bringing daily content. We have a podcast going pretty much every single day. So if you're into listening to podcasts and all that good stuff, we are the people that you want to come find and listen to. And follow us on the Twitter, the Facebook, Instagram. Search Flex Network. We're also on Instagram. So we are all over the place and all the places. So let's see. We got a question here. Why did McVay leave Goff in the game? Well, Will, I will say that he left him in the game. I know you're only saying that because you know that Blake Bortles is the backup and you want Blake Bortles to play, but he left Goff in the game because you have to leave Goff in the game. And I'm not as high on Goff as a lot of people are. Obviously, I'm a Seahawks fan, and so I just don't think he's very good. But, he left him in the game because he thought he was going to win. So just plain and simple. That's just how it rolls. So there's that, but yeah, speaking of the Rams, they need a bounce back this week. They need to get a win this week against the 49ers, and it's not going to come easy. The 49ers defense is looking legit. Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm not sure how legit he's looking right now. So we'll see. The 49ers are kind of at a disadvantage. One, they have to play Aaron Donald, who is just a grown man, and it just is wreaking havoc on any offensive line. It doesn't matter who it is. A lot of times he's drawing double and triple teams. And so that's how some of that is going down. But the problem with the 49ers is they have hurt tackles. So they do not have all their starters in the game. And so the interesting thing here is that you have your hands full. Aaron Donald's going to get in there, and he's going to get after the quarterback, whether you like it or not. And so we're going to see exactly what they're going to do. I believe it was Seattle, and when we played Pittsburgh was, JJ Watt's younger brother was causing some havoc in the backfield for Russell Wilson. So one of the things they did is they they eliminated the amount of time that, or not eliminated, but cut down on the amount of time that he was holding on to the football. All the passes were coming out 2 seconds or less. Playing the quick game, get the ball into someone else's hands so that the pass rush cannot be effective. And I think if the 49ers want to win this game, they'll copy that same type of mold there and just try and get the ball out of Jimmy G's hands as fast as possible, because the longer you stand back there at the football, the more time you're giving Aaron Donald to come get you. And especially when you're coming off of back-to-back injuries like Jimmy Garoppolo is, you want to get the ball out of his hands. You don't want him taking hits from Aaron Donald, because he seems like a guy right now that if he takes any more hits, he might break again. Okay, another question. Thoughts on AB Antonio Brown going to the XFL? Hashtag fake news ? Is he going to the XFL? I don't know if I heard that. But if he does, that'll be interesting. That'll be by far the biggest name that they would have going there. But yeah, the whole XFL is interesting. The XFL announced earlier this week they're having their draft. A couple of players. There's a couple interesting players, a couple of Washington State players that are going to be in the XFL draft. There is a few former well-known NFL players that are going to be in there, but not any names that are really grabbing any attention right now. But hey, it's a startup league. We'll see what happens. They have, they're backed by Vince McMahon from the WWE, so they have a lot of money behind what they're doing. And so it should be interesting. They're going to have I believe there's 8 cities that have teams. So they will be starting their league in February after the NFL season is over, after the Super Bowl and all that good stuff. So, I'm cool with it because there's more football. So it should be interesting. I don't expect it to be all that competitive just because of what it is. But as long as it's a step up from the AAF or whatever, the American Alliance Football, whatever, that folded, if it's a step up from that competition wise, then I'm down for it, because that just was like kind of hard to watch. So it's hard when you have all the best athletes in the world playing in the NFL. So, yep. So yeah, like I said, you can follow us on the Flex Network. On Twitter at the Flex Network 1. Follow us there. But that will wrap it up for me tonight. And stay tuned. There will be a show tomorrow, and there will be a show Friday. Flex Finder Podcast is going to be out there on Friday. They're looking for your deep flex plays. They will give you all the flex plays that you need to win your league, to help you win this week. And so just, keep in tune with what we're doing, and we'll have it all. And, but until next time, I will catch you guys later.